Hi, folks. This is Rabbi Kerry Chaplin. Welcome to Resist Burnout, a project of Shul. It's a 15-minute weekly call to restore and regenerate and return to who you are. Whatever your background or practices or religions or rituals, this is a space for you. And I'm glad you're calling in today. Whether you're calling in every week now, or this is your first time calling, or if you're listening later in the week, I know you know the need. Otherwise, you wouldn't be calling in and listening at all. And this week, I know and I think many of us are focused on and thinking about healthcare and the lives at stake in the proposed, I'll put it in air quotes, healthcare plan. We're thinking of the Supreme Court. I don't know if it's technically a ruling. I haven't actually had a chance to read up on it a whole lot yet. But for now, if you'll permit me, I'll just call it a ruling that permits a kind of version of the travel ban, at least temporarily, and their lives in the balance. And we're holding, whether we are those people whose lives are in the balance, or we know those people, or even if they're strangers, our hearts are aching for them and driving us to do this justice work. Again, whatever your personal rituals or practices, the Shul team and I hope this will be a kind of way station for you amidst that chaos, amidst the work that we're doing, which really demands so much of us. And I hope this way station is one of many that sustains you and your commitment and your energy to the work of justice and caring for one another. Just about each week, Rhonda Rosen guides us in meditation, and someone from the field, an organizer, activist, offers us words of inspiration. And this week, we're very fortunate that Melinda Gibson is able to join us, and I think you'll understand why soon. Everyone is on mute because of the brief nature of the call, and that means no introductions, but I want to honor this temporary community, and I know others do too, from throughout the country. So please, when the call is over, post a picture of where you're listening, who you're listening with, coworkers, cute animals, cute children, your sunny corner of the office, or you can post a word or two about what's on your heart after the call. In the meantime, I'll say something about who I know is on the call today. LA is well represented today, so rock on LA. So we also have folks from other parts of California, Pennsylvania, Florida, Vermont, and DC. I'm sure other places too. There are people on this call who are working for immigrant rights, for healthcare access, for queer rights, for refugees, interfaith education, academics, artists, peacemakers, troublemakers, politicos, consultants, parents, and all of us pursuing the world that we aspire to live in. We gather on this call to practice our own helpfulness. We have just this one self and a whole lot of work to do with it. Calling from outside of Pittsburgh, Rhonda Rosen has been a mindfulness meditation practitioner since '73 and leading mindfulness meditation for 10 years. Rhonda, I will unmute you. There we go.
Hi, can you hear me well enough?
We can.
Okay, so I'm going to begin. The easiest way I know to integrate meditation into daily life is to remember to come to your senses. A case can be made for this being one description of meditation itself. Come to your senses and just sit here. The Buddhists think of mind going from head to toe and talk about our six senses as sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, and the discursive mind and its ideas. When we include the discursive mind as one of the senses, then we can have a different relationship with the things we think. Much of what we think about are well-rehearsed thought bubbles, which can easily turn into dead-end fear or misery. We can get lost there. If we think about this in terms of cause and effect, we can quickly see that we are experts at causing our own suffering. These are the kinds of thoughts that give emotions a bad reputation. I can sit here and get hooked into hopelessness or bitterness. What happens when I alter the chain of habitual thought? What happens when I notice malignant thoughts and decide to focus on the other senses? I can give a chance for seeing, hearing, smelling, and tasting to provide a different type of sensory input. Is that a corrective to backing myself into a miserable corner of self-pity or blame? We can ask, is the discursive mind drowning out all the other senses? We are a constantly flowing river of sense experience, both external and internal, and as Rilke wrote, no feeling is final. So we can cultivate rooting ourselves to what we value and just sit here, learning to redirect our attention when we get stuck in destructive rumination. So we can practice just sitting here, not doing much. We have decided to take this time out from all that is demanded of us. Please find a pretty comfortable position, and I hope you're feeling safe enough right now to let your guard down a bit and move inward and continue breathing, feeling the breath at the nostrils, neutral and subtle. Here's the inhale, and here's the exhale, and the transition in between. And each time the attention wanders, just bring it back. This breath and this moment, breathing all by itself. There's nothing to control, and there's no right or wrong way to breathe. And each time the attention wanders, very gently bring it back. And when you find yourself caught in a non-productive thought bubble, notice that too. And return to the soft sensation that touched the breath, breathing itself. And if you like, the attention can move to feel the body simply resting here, alive from head to toe. Letting the muscles of the face, the eyes, the mouth get soft, letting the eyes become passive, soft, and receptive. Letting the muscles around the ears and jaw relax. Hearing is passive and receptive. Feeling the neck and the shoulders, the arms and the hands, and the weight of the arms and the temperature of the hands. And here's the upper back and the chest, feeling what it feels like to be alive in this body. The middle of the back and the abdomen. The trunk of the body, breathing. Feeling the weight of your body just sitting or lying here. And the legs and the feet. And the connection between the feet and the floor. Stable and grounded. And return to the breath, which is still breathing all by itself. And it's so good to know that you can make this part of your daily life. If you begin to notice you're becoming preoccupied, you can invite yourself to breathe and rest, just like this, and redirecting your attention to any of the senses. What do I see, hear, and feel? So when you're ready, open your eyes if they've been closed and notice what you do see, the shape and light and shadow. Very good. Thank you, Kerry.
Thank you, Rhonda, for inviting us to come to our senses, to keep us rooted in our values. Calling in from LA, Melinda Gibson is a career progressive organizer and campaigner. She's focused on healthcare, workers' rights, and now voting rights. I officiated her wedding, and she secured a basement location in the HCAN basement for my legal wedding, which was in DC. She's a dear friend with buoyant energy and a big heart, and I'm really excited that she's here with us today. Let me unmute you. There we go. Melinda, hi.
Hey, thank you all so much for having me. Thank you for that amazing introduction, Kerry. I'm so pleased to be here today. I particularly need this call this morning, as I'm sure many of you do. So it's really an important piece of self-care for me. Today, I just wanted to share some thoughts around my personal inner conflict between inspiration and self-care. It's an ongoing balance and struggle. And in times of trouble, I often turn to quotes, both historic and fiction. And I wanted to share two of those quotes with you all today that I carry with me often. These two pieces have pretty different tones and messengers, but they both talk about the greatness and necessity of risk, which I'm really internalizing lately. I'd just like to take a quick second and say these quotes are both written from a gendered perspective. So apologies to anyone if that doesn't quite resonate with you, but I'm going to read them as they were originally written so that you can get the sense of them from the great authors. This first quote was very important to my late father, who was a public defender, and it's a speech by President Teddy Roosevelt entitled Citizenship in the Republic. It's often known as the Man in the Arena from 1910. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out the strong man's stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again. But there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotion, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. I am often inspired by the man in the arena and the truth in that fight. And I do believe there is honor in being the one who is knocked down in pursuit of greatness. But with that knockdown comes the need to heal and get back up again. And I find when I am under attack, I become risk averse out of fear. But sometimes it is when you're afraid that a risk can yield the greatest reward. And that brings me to the second quote that I carry around very often. And this is from a 1944 film called National Velvet. And you'll see it has a pretty different tone than President Roosevelt. But it's a conversation between a mother and a daughter, two women in an attic late at night. And the mother, Araminta Brown, is incredibly sage-like. She says to her daughter, "We are alike. I too believe that everyone should have a chance at a breathtaking piece of folly once in his life. I was 20 when they said a woman couldn't swim the channel. You're 12 and you think a horse of yours can win the Grand National. Your dream has come early, but remember, Velvet, it will have to last you all the rest of your life." And I love the idea of folly as positive, even though I don't believe that everyone just gets one chance at it. I think often about what my breathtaking piece of folly would be as a person. Folly is very much rooted in risk, but also in fun. And with folly, there is no expectation of return, only the hope of it. And I think we often live in a world or culture that devalues folly, especially if you're living in post-teenage years in America. And sometimes I resist folly because I feel like it can be dismissive of the seriousness of the moment. But every moment is serious. And we need to remember to embrace folly and risk and positivity when we can. And I work to remember that some things can surprise you in that way.
Melinda, thank you so much for sharing those quotations for us, especially the Teddy Roosevelt quote that was so important to your dad. And thank you for reminding us of, you called it the greatness and necessity of risk, but I think it's from what you said later, like the hopefulness and necessity of risk. And for reminding us how important that is and how valuable and honorable that is. Thank you again to Rhonda for offering us a guided contemplation today and inviting us to come to our senses. I invite everyone again to please post a picture of where you are, who you're listening with, or a word or two about what's on your mind after today's call, what's on your heart. And I'll again say, because we're still in that month, happy Pride, everyone. I hope there is hope and love and a whole lot of possibility in Pride while we're fighting the good fight. Take care, and we'll be together again next week. Thanks so much.